So a few weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, I made a video post 10th anniversary, sort of talking about the content in Dokkan Battle, and it was called like the Vegito problem, or does Dokkan have a Vegito problem, or something to that effect. And I didn't really see people talking about this much. That video got a few hundred views, which I'm eternally grateful for, but we're starting to see that spill over now, especially with the Festival of Battles. And I made it prior to the Festival of Battles, I think, which is why it sort of was an expected outcome rather than the definitive proof of that. But now we sort of have people wising up to this as an idea. We have Vector here saying, is this just going to be the no one does damage besides Vegito year? And then go on to say, if they're going to give Vegito all that, they need to be willing to give it to some other units. These 100 million APT turns ain't cutting it anymore. And, you know, I'm sure if you've seen APT stuff, if you've seen, like, Ruth talk about, like, the numbers nerds, like, you're probably in that camp where you believe that, or you could believe that this stuff doesn't actually matter in the real game, but it kind of does in this case. Because when is the last time, like, a showcase you watched wasn't just completely decided by Vegito? It's really rare. And we're going to go into why this is a problem and how they can fix it. Because when I made this video initially, I said, what is going to be the solution? It's not going to be a super long event. It's going to be something that kills Vegeta or Goku or Vegeta. In the case of the AGL fusing unit, right? It's not going to be a super long unit. So what they did instead is they doubled down on the long content in the worst possible way. They gave us an 80 phase fight that has nothing that can deal with the Vegeta side of the card. That has nothing that can deal with the Goku stacking up until phase like 40. And now we're in this situation where, like, I mean, like I said here, they'll flame you for this, but yeah, every showcase feels like Vegito and friends. You know, and we just have people being like, you know, we have 4 units that do damage besides Vegito. This is like not, if you genuinely compare those 4 units this person's talking about, I don't even know how many turns like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and the gods would need to match one Vegito turn. It's so staggering. The taunt mechanic is so staggeringly dominant that it feels like you're not playing the game up until you finally pop it and actually kill the phase 49 and 50 of the Festival of Battles, right? Someone says, hey, what's wrong with that? We finally have long content for the first time forever. What's wrong with that is that I want to use more than one team and unit and have fun. I already beat all these events with Vegeta. What now? The game is boring. And let's swap over to the events tab and we'll take a look at this in more detail. So a big part of what is being described here is that, like, one, there's Festival of Battles, and it's like, okay, we finally have, you know, quote unquote long content for the first time ever. And it's like, well, that long content comes with, you know, a collective 4 billion, if not, you know, 5.6 billion price tag, right? Because these are the phases in which you're actually using the Vegito if you need to. Hopefully not this one, and more so these two. Okay. Let's swap over to, I mean, DB Saga's not enough, Vegeta's not enough, Goku's not enough. Like, we can look, but like, this was closer, you know, with things like locking and such. They need to make these fights scary, because if we can't fix the Vegeta and Goku problem, if this card continues to be untouchable here, then nothing will change about Dokkan for the foreseeable future. And it's getting to the point, like, really fast, like scarily fast, that, like, I know, you know, I mean, Truth still pulls in like pretty like good views on the Festival of Battle stuff, but like, I've described this before. There's a difference between you as a player wanting to get on and do an event, and Truth, whose job it is to like showcase units and kind of dress it up, right? Because we're not really seeing teams that are particularly like, what should I say here? We're not really seeing examples of these units like the new, like TUR Goku, for example, being remarkable in their own context. We're kind of just seeing them be remarkable with a pat on the head, and then, you know, Earthbred Fighters, guess what time it is? You know, all right, Vegito time. I don't really know how they'll fix this if they continue to go down the road they are, but it's becoming a sooner rather than later issue. And I know that's like rich because the anniversary ended like, you know, weeks ago, really, really early. Like it's not been that long, but this does not threaten Vegito enough, and neither does this. I think they were really close. I think they were really close with not this one, but maybe it's actually this one. Yeah, they were really close here. But what's happening is that all of these characters who you think are so fun and like interesting are just Vegito merchants. The game is just Vegito, and maybe you could like hand wave it by saying that, well, it's the anniversary, this is how it always is. But when this character dropped and he was a defensive wall, it didn't feel as like hapless as when Vegito does literally everything better than every single character with no competition. That's kind of the issue, is that Beast was the defensive wall that made like slot 1 kind of mindless, but in time they outscaled his damage like pretty fast. You know, it wasn't like Beast was just the most damaging unit ever and nothing could ever compare. You know, by the time Beast was released and then like the 6-year LRs had easy aid, it was kind of comparable. You can't really say that about the gods in like the 7 years. The gods aren't Vegito. They can have turns where you kind of get fooled into thinking that this is like him, but it's just not. This active turn ends fights without any sort of recourse to get there. If we can't in Dokkan find a way to get this guy dead or one of his teammates, and he can always safely go into Super Vegito, there's no character they can feasibly easy A or release that's going to make the game interesting. I don't think I watched the showcase for Kid Goku really. I might have watched like 2 minutes of the Truth one. The Bardock looks okay, but people were vastly overgassing this character. Like, we're in a position where no characters released in Dokkan right now are doing damage. When you actually think about it, when you actually peel back the layers. Because what is damage right now? What is damage right now? It's not these guys. It's kind of these guys. These guys are actually the acceptable end of really, really high damage if we're going to be like really generous. But they're balancing the HP around Vegito, billions of HP around Vegito, and it's because he can do billions of HP worth of damage in a single turn, literally. So when your character, like the gods, like, you know, Kid Goku, like the Cell upcoming, when they're just doing ticky-tack like maybe 100 million plus, you start to notice that this shit looks really bad. It makes it so that we do end up having this like Vegito problem where the game is being balanced around a unit that has no equal. And you could say like, well, what? Say this way, to be honest, you get closer to him, yes, but no one should be on the same level. It's just it's so bad. It's one of those things where people don't realize what they're asking for. You think you want this until you realize that you haven't logged onto the game in like days, because there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do in Dokkan right now. And you could say that, well, that's how it always is after an anniversary, and it's kind of like the slow period. The thing is, they're releasing content though. Dokkan has been releasing more content than ever. It's just not worth doing at all. At all, it's not worth doing. And why is that? Because every event is Vegito fodder first. It's Vegito fodder, and because it's Vegito fodder, it makes all of our other characters look like fucking ass. Remember when Beast Gohan released, and what did everyone do? What was the first thing everyone like immediately ran to? They ran to this character. And they put him in slot 2, and he was actually sort of back. Like he was a character who still did damage, right? He still got his attacks in. Once he got all of his additionals in, he still actually looked pretty good, right? That's not really what's happening this year. And it's sad because it makes me think that they didn't really plot out the carnivals they released in this anniversary. But I guess we'll talk like numbers now. So we have Koma here, and they say Super Vegito really kind of killed Dokkan, man. And I just want to say, killed is obviously like hyperbole, right? Dokkan is doing better than ever, but interest in Dokkan, super low, I have to imagine. Like, can you personally tell me what you're getting on Dokkan to do daily? Do you do any fights daily? Do you do any extracurricular fights? Do you spend time in the app just like fucking around, like, or do you just like do your dailies and log off now? Because I will say, there's no experimentation in Dokkan currently. It is just waiting for Vegito to win. Unit damage is insignificant thanks to that. They balanced the game to his damage. Doing 200 million APT now is like being a P shooter. I wonder how much time people will need to realize how bad of a release he is for the game. He basically killed the game. Go over some numbers here. We have TRs like Kid Goku doing 130 million regular turns of APT, even 200 million at points. It doesn't matter, man. Super Vegito grabs that shit, does his 1.5 billion APT. Can be way higher, by the way, and just makes. The worst thing is not that Vegito exists, that they balance the AP around him. And this is something I was saying when he was revealed. I was like, it's fine for them to make him strong, but what they need to do is balance the game around punishing Vegeta and Goku so it is hard to get into him. Instead, what they did is balance it around Vegito needing to stack so that he has all the time in the world. And the reason the Festival of Battles is so fucking boring is because for the first 45 turns, you're literally not doing anything. You don't have to switch them back and forth. You don't. People thought that you'd have to like balance the stacks. You don't. You do not. Genuinely how the game recovers from this, and by this way, when I say that you do not, it means that you can leave them on one for like 20 phases and then leave the other for the rest of the fight. It's not like you're balancing back and forth and having to do this, you know, skillful wagering game of if you'll die or not. You don't. Genuinely how the game recovers from this, they ain't going back on HP. Every unit you like, even from the 10th annual, will be relevant damage-wise, even in Red Zone, man. Fuck this shit, they really fucked this shit with bad game design, horrible balancing and handle power creep. They released Cell doing 100 million APT. That's fine. For a tank support, if he didn't balance the game around Super Vegito, thanks to that, those damage levels are horrendous and hurt his team and run 2 of him. Teams like damage unless you run the top 4 is a really unfun state of the game. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. And yeah, here's Vector again saying they gonna cook you, but I agree 100%. The only thing keeping me going is my channel. I don't think they balanced the game to his damage, but we've been asking for more HP bosses for a while and we got it. This is wrong. They balanced the game to his damage. It's pretty overt. They don't care about like us being like, we want more damage, so they gave them 1 billion HP. It's not. They balanced it because Vegito, they know what Vegito does. When I know there's kind of this joke where it's like, did they even playtest this unit? They playtested Vegito. He's the 10th anniversary unit. He's the headliner. He's the big one. He's the one that got people to reinstall the game. They balanced the game for him. They want you to purchase Vegito. They did not want you to purchase Kid Goku or Daima Vegeta or Super Saiyan 4 Goku. They wanted you to purchase Vegito. They wanted you to need this character for Festival of Battles. There's a reason that in Festival of Battles is, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like the only event where they balance the HP around Vegito, in my opinion, is probably the festival battles. The rest, I mean, no, that's just not true though. I mean, look, just look at it, right? Like all of these guys got power crept HP, right? And all of the thing is, if your understanding of this is battle hardened what is it? Formidable foes, then sure, you know. If your understanding of it is just that like Max only has 150, sure, right? Of course. But I mean, everyone else is like packing the fucking heater, alright? Like 350 was like pretty high the moment it came out, and then this guy's got a fucking 1.5 billion, right? You know, it's like the moment he came out, this guy's got 150 million. You know, 50 million is a fucking lot. And this guy's got 1.2 billion. They balanced it around you using Vegito. Pretty overt, like not that hard, but yeah, I think it's just I just don't think they thought it through enough, or if they did, no, that's not what I'm saying. The thing about Dokkan is that I don't think that Dokkan is like a game that they put a lot of thought into. We see this with missing events. There's still nothing for friend units to do. There's still no reason to have for friend units at all. Like there's no guilds, there's no nothing. Dokkan is so behind the bar when it comes to PvE gacha in 2025. Even now it is. And I say as someone who really enjoys Dokkan, like I do. But if you want to compare Dokkan to other games that you could be playing PvE wise, like this shit is not close. And one of those examples is like Dokkan doesn't create really interesting power creep. There's so many easy ways to have created a boss that punishes you for bringing Vegito but doesn't make him irrelevant. If you don't find ways to force early Vegitos, the game will continue to be stale, Dokkan. You need to find ways to force the player to use this character early, not just give them HP sponges. It's not interesting game design. It is bad game design. People always talk about, oh my god, Fuse Zamasu was artificial difficulty. It kind of wasn't. It was difficulty, sure, but like it was power creep, sure. But this is actually like artificial difficulty. Just putting a bunch of time in front of the player so that they fear losing 3 hours of their life to not super scouting the unit super in the festival battles. When you have to every single time reset the app to spot the unit super just so you can play the game in festival of battles, that's artificial difficulty because it's asking you, hey, are you afraid of losing 3 hours? Yeah. With all being said though, like if you liked the video, subscribe to join the club. We all go make it, and peace.